Yes, y'all. Welcome to Smile Through the Fire podcast. I'm your host, Wilner P. Joseph. My co-host here, Max. We are excited to introduce you to our very special guest who is going to be on the show today. You guys are going to be fueled. Your stomach's going to be full with all the great information that we're going to provide, and just straight through positive and real stories and understanding how important it is to smile through your traumas and survivors. This podcast is here to forward stories of people, of everyday entrepreneurs and people who've smiled through pain and turned their pain to purpose, and everyday warriors. So I'm excited to announce our new guest, right? Mayor Caroline Simmons from Greenwich, Connecticut. She's our mayor of Stamford, Connecticut, who was a former state rep. And I'm excited to have her on our show, Smile Through the Fire. Mayor Caroline Simmons, welcome to Smile Through the Fire. We're excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Max and Wilmer. Thanks so much for having me and doing this great podcast.
So first question, I'm sure our audience would love to know, for those who might not know you personally, who is Mayor Caroline Simmons?
Sure. Well, thank you again for having me. Honored to be here, and thank you for telling the stories of so many great community members in Stamford. So I will start by saying I'm a mom of 4. I have got 3.
Oh my God, I lost count. I thought 3.
We got one more in there. We 3 boys, and then we got a girl. And
oh my God, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
It's been so much fun, and they're 6, 5, 3, and 5 months. So we're definitely in that chaotic stage where they're jumping in our bed at 5 in the morning every day, but they kind of give us that purpose every day where we just want to, work hard, make our city a better place for all of our kids and for future generations. And so that's been so much fun. And I think becoming a mother has really just changed my whole, perspective and given me even more urgency to wanting to solve the challenges that we face in our community. So I'll start by saying I'm a mom of 4. My husband Art and I met actually in the legislature. We were from different parties. He's a Republican, I'm a Democrat. So we met through this bipartisan Young Legislators Caucus. And we don't always agree on everything, but we always say, instead of attacking each other, let's attack the problems facing our community. And then I come from a big family. I've got one of 5, so I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers. And, I just always grew up hearing my parents talking about, they grew up in the 1960s and were involved in, my dad marched on Washington during the MLK March. My mom was at UC Berkeley when all the women's liberation movement was happening. And, they were both, outspoken against the Vietnam War. And they always described to me, my siblings, kind of stories around the 1960s and just all the social justice movements that were taking place, and how it really was a time where, so much was changing for the better, and people were, really standing up and fighting for rights. And so they've always taught me and my siblings to sort of seek out the injustices of our time and look for ways we can get involved and root out those injustices and make our community a better place. So I credit my parents with kind of giving me the interest to get involved and to give back to our community.
Nice, I love it. I mean, I feel like it was embedded in you, right? It's in your blood to really stand for people and really advocate, but not just for yourself, but for the community, just for the world. Right? So I think it says a lot about you and just where you are in life right now. So growing up in Connecticut, what experiences shaped your passion for public service?
Sure. Well, when I was in high school, the 9/11 attacks happened. It was the first week of my sophomore year.
You went to Greenwich High School?
I went to Greenwich Academy.
Greenwich Academy?
Yes.
I coach at Greenwich Academy. I coach the girls basketball team.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's great. They're great. I wish we'd had you as a coach. I think our record was not very good when I was there, but so the 9/11 attacks happened and just, devastated our entire community and obviously the whole country. And I'm sure we all remember where we were when that happened. And I'll never forget, I was in history class and there was an announcement from our principal over the loudspeaker that we were all going to meet in assembly, that our country was under attack. And then they told us that there was a terrorist attack against the World Trade Center towers. And, I was so young, I didn't really know what terrorism was or why anyone would want to do this to our country. And so I remember just feeling very scared, angry and confused as to why anyone would do this. Tragically, one of our one of my friends and mentors lost her father in the World Trade Center attack, and she, in the wake of that, organized this like school-wide community service project where we all signed books about, where people, go. It was called The Next Place, how, people go to heaven after they pass. And we signed books with notes, and our entire school did it and sent those books to victims who had lost loved ones in the 9/11 attacks. And I remember just being so in awe of her and how, she showed such resilience in the wake of her own, dealing with her own tragedy. She was able to mobilize our whole community, and she then went on to become our school president and organize like a school-wide community service event every year. And so she motivated me to want to get involved in service, and I ran for school president. I always tell kids when I first ran for student government, I lost badly, but I always say don't give up even if you don't succeed the first time. Keep trying. It doesn't mean you can't still follow your passion. So yeah, that was really one of the motivating events that made me want to get involved. And I initially wanted to be in the CIA and to go down that route. I didn't make the cut for that. I ended up working at the Department of Homeland Security for several years, and then
well, we're glad you're
here.
But here's a fun fact though. So you mentioned Homeland Security. So I used to watch this show called Homeland. And
Yes.
I swear to goodness, for so many years, I've always trying to figure out who do you remind me of, and then you brought this up. you kind of resemble her a little bit.
I wish my job at school was Carrie Matheson's in that show. She's very badass, but no, that's a great show.
Yeah. Nah, she's the bad. I love that show. I mean, I remember one time I stood up almost 24 hours. Like literally was watching that show. It was. I couldn't. I got.
It's so good.
It was crazy, but one thing I admire is the fact that being in this seat, it's always set out to be for men, right? Like there's not too many women in these seats, and you being the first woman to be mayor of our city, what was that like? What was that process like? Did you feel the pressure? Did you get any backlash? Sometimes, getting into certain seats where it's dominated for men, right? Which is unfair to say. But what was that pressure like? Well, what was that like becoming the first mayor of our city being a woman?
Sure. Well, it's been an incredible honor to get to serve as the first woman, and I don't take that position lightly, and I'm trying to do the best job that I can so that I can be a role model for other women, because I know I'm not going to be the last. There's going to be many more that are going to come and serve in this role. But I'll definitely say it had its challenges. During the campaign trail when I first ran, I remember I just felt that there was unfair questions that I got that my male opponent didn't get. Things about who's going to take care of the kids at home, or what management experience do you have, even though I felt that I had the qualifications and that my husband and I would be able to manage it with the kids, and I felt like he wasn't getting those same questions. So that was definitely a hurdle. And I remember knocking on doors. Some people would say, like, who are you? Are you with the Girl Scouts? Like, who is this girl running for? I think one point my opponent said, what does a young girl know about running a city? And but I've always believed that, use the things the naysayers say against you and the pushback that you get, like kind of use that as fuel to motivate you even further to prove them wrong. And I've always tried to bring that mindset, like anybody that like challenged me or questioned me or said that I didn't know what I was doing or couldn't do it, I'm gonna prove them wrong and use that as motivation. Absolutely. And I think it's easier said than done, but I always try to encourage that to young women to use their voices. Don't let anyone tell them that their voices don't matter, and speak up and prove the naysayers wrong.
No, I think that's wonderful. I mean, that's how I operate in life. I mean, for so many years of my life, I've always been the underdog, and I always use the naysayers as fuel to really do the things that I do, to accomplish things that I've accomplished in my life. And even with this podcast, people thought it was crazy starting a podcast. Like, what do you know about podcasting? And I'm like, listen, regardless of what, I'm just going off of my experiences and understanding that people, voices, and story matters. And I want to get it out there to inspire other people who want to start a podcast, or people, younger kids in my community, to give them the confidence to understand that you can do anything you put your mind to, no matter what it is. So I'm proud of you of having that strength and using that fuel to do what you're doing. So it really says a lot about who you are.
And right back at you, like everyone brings such unique life skills and experiences to the table that can serve as inspiration for other people, and the way you inspire youth and young people. So I think all of our contributions matter, and we can't let naysayers derail us when we're trying to pursue our dreams.
I think what it is, what I've noticed is the people that have things to say, the people who just want to do the things that we're doing, just don't know how to do it. Instead of them asking how can we support or how can I do it, they rather just say the negative things. And back in the day, no matter what you do in life, you're gonna have negativity. You just can't allow it to really steer you in the wrong direction.
Right.
So here's the next question. You served as a state rep. What did that teach you and challenge your potential for our city? Like how did that pretty much, from your experiences of being state rep, how did that teach you and challenge you as a potential to really run the city?
Yeah, it taught me a lot. I think that the biggest thing it taught me is just the importance of constituent services and getting back to residents in a timely manner. I think that's one of the most important functions of government, is just being responsive to residents and trying to fix challenges. And as a state representative, I really focused on, constituent services as part of that. And so I learned how to navigate, whether it was a city issue, connecting the resident to the right city department, or if it was a state issue, making sure we were following up with the state departments, if someone needed health insurance or unemployment benefits, whatever it was, making sure that follow through was there. But it also taught me the importance of how the legislative branch needs to work with the executive branch. And now, of course, in a different role as the executive, but I think it's taught me a lot about just the importance of checks and balances in our three-branch government system, and how we need to work with the legislative branch. And even though we won't always agree on things, that's an important part of the process. And then I guess the final thing I'll say it taught me is the importance of building coalitions to get things done. They say on average in Hartford it takes about 3 years to get a bill passed, and I think the more you can bring voices with lived experiences to the table to testify about why this bill matters. For example, we did a lot of work on gun violence reduction legislation or expanding paid family leave. And I remember the Women's Caucus, we shared our own stories about the importance of paid family leave and just the, postnatal process, but also brought up residents and constituents to make their stories heard. And I think that's really important, building a coalition when you're trying to get things accomplished.
Wow. That's a lot. That says a lot. The name of our podcast is Smile Through the Fire. Can you share a time in your life when you had to push through adversity but still keep your faith and purpose?
Sure. Well, I'll say that I think the campaign running for mayor was probably one of the hardest races I had to do, and I think that was a period where I definitely faced a lot of kind of self-doubt, and I think sometimes going back to the naysayers, I think I'd be lying if I say it didn't get in my head sometimes, and then I would challenge myself, can I really do this? They're saying I can't. And so I think I had to really, just reaffirm kind of those positive affirmations and believe in myself, and know that I could, put together a good team, use the skills that I've learned in Hartford and other roles. But, if there's areas where I don't know and I need to learn, I would learn them, and I would build a good team around me so that we could, figure out how to move our city forward. So I think that was definitely a tough time. And then, I'll definitely say throughout this job, there's been, challenging periods. Some of the hardest moments are when I've had to, meet with parents who tragically lost a loved one in our city, whether it was, a tragic pedestrian fatality that has happened, or another incident. It's just heartbreaking, and I feel responsible for everything that happens in our city and any harm that a resident has to go through. And one fatality is too many in our city, and so I'm always looking for ways we can do better and improve and fix things so that never happens again. But I think those are the really hard moments when you have to look in the eyes of parents and just know that something tragic has happened. And but those are also the moments where we want to do everything we can to support families and work on policies to make our city a safer, better place for everyone.
So how do you being in the position you're in? Because I know being a leader as myself, right? People who don't understand the work that we do, mm-hmm. they think we can fix everything. Mm-hmm. They think we're supposed to be at every situation. So how do you face being a parent, but also feel like I have to be here for the city, that everybody expects you to fix every problem?
Yeah, it definitely can be challenging, because every day there's maybe 20 different issues that'll come across our desk, or challenges we're trying to fix. And my team and I are always focused on being as responsive as we can, trying to fix as many things we can. If they can't be fixed through the jurisdiction of our office, we try to connect people with resources, whether it's Connecticut Legal Aid, or connecting them to our state delegation if it's a state issue, or to Congressman Himes's office if it's a federal issue, or to the many robust nonprofits we have in our community. I think that's one great thing about Stanford. We've got amazing partners and resources, and there's a lot of ways we can help people out. But you're right, at times I think people want us to be able to fix everything, and we try to, but we can't always solve everything. But the other thing I try to do is, like to your point about being a mom and juggling this job, is just trying to be as present as I can in every moment, and know that every day I'm not going to be a perfect mom or a perfect mayor. So I try to like give myself some grace, that I'm going to try to do the best that I can and show up and be present every day as much as I can, and try to do everything in my power to fix the challenges I'm seeing every day.
I think that's good. That people understand that, because our viewers need to understand that sometimes in life we have certain positions, and understand how to balance and also set boundaries, right? Because you know, in the position of leadership, it's difficult, right, to please everybody. And I see that in sports, I see that in everywhere. You know, everybody looks at the leader like, oh my God, you're God. And the only person that really can solve any issues, honestly, is Jesus Christ himself. Sometimes when our backs are against the wall, first thing I say is let's pray. Yeah. That's the only solution, and people cannot put that pressure and think that we can fix everything, that we can solve every problem, and we can do the best we can. So I think that's great that you find that balance, and being a mom and being the mayor of a city that expects so much from you, especially being a woman, right? Because sometimes being a woman, us men, we think women get supposed to do it all. Everything. But it has to be equal. But I think you have a great team. I think you're doing a great job. But sometimes we have to give people grace. Even if we feel like you're not doing a good job, we have to always say to ourselves. So sometimes I hold myself to accountable. It's like when I agree with certain things, I gotta say, oh well, Wilner, if you were in this person's shoes, how would you react to certain things? So sometimes I gotta give people grace, because I try not to let my emotions get involved in certain things. Right? But it's hard.
It's hard
because we're human.
Yes,
right? We're human. But like you said, we're not gonna agree with everyone.
Right, and we all care. Like you care deeply about youth you're working with and solving these challenges and being compassionate. So I think it's coming from a good place. But you're right, we got to give ourselves grace too.
Yeah. So this has been, I'd say, one of the more difficult years, just in terms of everything that's going on, the political climate, some of the things that we're seeing in day-to-day life. What are some of the resources that you guys are trying to, you want to highlight for some of the residents of Stamford to know that you guys are there for them, and how, if they need some help with either, I heard that there's an upcoming, for November 1st, there won't be any food stamps. So is there any resources or programs that you guys are offering to kind of help those residents who may be in need of something?
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. It's been a really challenging year. I mean, with everything that's been happening under the Trump administration, there's just so much fear and uncertainty out there, and real economic hardship. I mean, so many people are struggling to afford things like groceries, their electric bill, their rent. Everything seems to be going up, and now, like you said, with the upcoming shutdown of SNAP benefits, it's going to be devastating for so many families. I was knocking on doors over the weekend, and people are already, stocking up. I know our food pantries are, already short on supplies. So we're actually meeting with our Stamford Food Collaborative tomorrow, kind of all the organizations involved in reducing food insecurity, and just looking at ways we can partner with them, whether it's getting more city funding and resources during this time when SNAP benefits are shut off, to if we need to work with our grocery stores to increase supply at our food banks, or just really engage in mobilizing residents to donate and give back. But then also going back to working with our partners, working with all of our social service providers and partners like Person to Person and Silver Source, and organizations that will meet people where they are and bring food to support people in need. We're going to be doing everything we can. We're grateful that the governor just announced he's going to put $3 million in emergency funding. But unfortunately, I think we don't know how long this could last. So we're going to need to do everything we can, I think, at the local community level too, and to make sure we're taking care of our neighbors during this really challenging time.
I think during this time, I was saying, we did a prayer walk this weekend with Union Baptist and Pastor Bradley, and I was a part of that whole thing. And we were talking about it, and one of the things I said that I think what we missed out on is unity in the community, right? The word unity in community. Meaning that going back to when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, where we relied on the neighbors, right, to help each other. We bought the services. And I think that we need to bring that essence back. We need to bring that tradition back to Stanford, right? Like, yes, things are tough, but we can't live in fear.
Yes.
We have to, this is the time to really buckle up our belt buckles and say, look, we're going to fight back.
Right.
And meaning that we're going to fight back and showing the government that they can't control us. We're going to stick together as a community. Right. So, like you said, like, let's pull up our resources and let's make sure that, neighbors and neighbors are making sure, okay, this person doesn't have milk. I have extra milk over here for your kids. Or whatever it is that we can do, because we can do it. And COVID taught me a lot how, we don't need to rely on the government. The government relies on us. Yeah. We're the voice. We're more powerful than the government, and we have to go away from thinking that the government controls us, and that's not the case. And what you said earlier about the resources, and you were saying, how do we get to that? I think the most important part is making sure safety is a key, because I've seen something recently, an article, I don't know how true it is, because I don't really believe everything that comes out on the media, that Walmart is not going to allow anyone to come into their facility because they're afraid of looting. So my question to you is, how do we prevent that from happening if that happens, right, in Stanford? Like, we want to make sure that the local places, not the large entities like the Targets or the Walmart, but like the local bodegas in the inner city neighborhoods, making sure that they're safe and making sure that people are not going there looting and stealing food if they're not providing any services.
Yeah. No, I first I'll say I've got trust in our community. I think we've got a great community, and there's been times where we've suffered economic hardship before, like during COVID or other challenging periods after the 2008 financial crisis. And I know our community is going to come together and rise to the occasion to support one another. And, with respect to safety, I think our police have done a good job of, really being community oriented and making sure, we've got officers, out in the community, whether it's through the PAL or through other initiatives. So, if anyone ever feels unsafe, they should call 911, and our police will be there. But I think you're right to the point before about unity. I think that's really important in this moment, because what the federal government is doing is deliberate, and they're trying to divide us. They're trying to pit communities against one another. They're trying to drive fear in us. And I think you're right. The more we can stick together, bring that unity. I love that you did that prayer walk, because I think that's what we need in these challenging times.
Yeah, it's very important to really double down and triple down on prayer, to really understand. I think the reason why a lot of people are living in fear is because I think we went away from understanding what the true meaning of God is, right? Mm-hmm. And when you take away that, you live in fear. But when you really understand the meaning of what God looks like, understanding what prayer feels like, when you really say, you know what, nothing else matters but prayer. I think we need to bring that back to allow people to understand, let's really rely on prayer. Yeah. And that's how important it is. But you mentioned something about, how rent is going up, groceries going up. But I know one of the huge concerns in every community, especially here in Stanford, and I was saying to someone the other day how, both of my children who graduated from Stanford High School, graduated college, they don't live in Stanford. They can't afford to live in Stanford. So one of the questions is, how do you plan to address youth development, first of all, right? Youth development in our community, because I think we need more youth development, we need more programs and more access to space, right? More programs where, the community is not just relying on one organization, like the Boys and Girls Club or the Dome, and allowing more other youth organizations to have access to make sure that we service just more than other children, and also affordable housing and community safety. How do you plan to address those issues?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I guess, starting with space, I do think it's so important that we invest in community spaces where we can come together and continue to build that social cohesion, and where there's, ample opportunities for youth to have access to high quality programming. So we're making a big investment in a lot of our community centers, whether it's the $2 million we've invested in the Yearwood Center, whether it was reopening the Chester Addison Community Center and bringing the PAL there. Next week we're going to be reopening Lathan Wider, which unfortunately had to close down due to a flood, but there's community services there. We actually have an RFP out for the Glenbrook Community Center right now, and looking at potential operators that could bring community programming there. And you've been a great advocate, Wilner, for additional space and programming and all the great youth activities you bring. So we want to continue to partner with organizations like yours and nonprofits that can bring more programming for our youth, and we're committed to that. And then with respect to affordable housing, absolutely, this is one of the biggest challenges we're seeing. So many people are struggling to afford to live in our city, and in cities across the country, rents have gone up, mortgage rates have been at an all-time high. Our homeless shelters are at capacity right now, and we really need to bring urgency to increasing our housing supply and making housing more affordable. So with our affordable housing executive order, we had a goal of building 1,000 new affordable units. We've got about 700 that have been completed or in the pipeline. We've made more inclusive zoning policies to, for example, build more affordable workforce housing around our train station. We've added funding in all of our city capital budgets to build more deeply affordable housing, and we also are working on creating more affordable pathways to affordable home ownership, because home ownership is so out of reach with home values skyrocketing to over 600,000. It's just crazy and so out of reach for residents. So one example is we partnered with the Housing Development Fund to create 23 owner-occupied condo units in Washington Crossing in the South End, where families were able to afford to purchase a home and get that down payment assistance. So I want to continue to invest in more programs like that and really bring urgency to this issue, because we can't wait on it. So many families are cost burdened, and so much of their income is having to go to housing because we're in just such an expensive market here.
Yeah, I mean, also too, there's the safety. I know there's been a lot of incidents, people losing their life on the streets in Stanford, like through accidents because of, the traffic or just, the safety on Washington Boulevard. How do you see yourself planning more safety around that, where it's eliminating people from getting hit? A lot of hit and runs. There's something that happened recently, that leaving High Ridge Road. There's been a lot of these incidents happening. How do you think that we can really measure down on it and make sure that those things prevent from happening? I know Washington Boulevard has been like a huge area. Growing up, I know I lost a lot of friends in that area. There's just so much traffic and so many people driving, speeding in that area.
Yeah, it's devastating, and you're absolutely right. It's a critical issue, making sure we can improve pedestrian safety and get drivers to slow down. One of the things we did, my first year in office, was signed an executive order establishing a Vision Zero task force, which the goal of Vision Zero is to get to 0 pedestrian fatalities by 2030. And in my mind, 1 fatality is too many. It's unacceptable. People have to feel safe and be safe when they're walking around our downtown. And so there's kind of a 3-pronged approach we're taking through that. One is just better enforcement, making sure we're getting drivers to slow down. So we're doing a lot of work around bolstering our traffic enforcement unit with the police, but also adding in red light cameras around schools to reduce incidents there. The second piece is engineering. So the way that we design roads, our city was really built around cars, and so many of the roads like Washington Boulevard you mentioned, or Long Ridge and High Ridge, people are speeding as if it's a highway through our city, where we've got UConn students crossing the street, we've got young families, and it's really dangerous. So with those roads, which are state roads, we actually worked with DOT to get a road safety audit and get some funding into getting drivers to slow down, and are looking at adding a raised crosswalk and other mechanisms. But then the third key piece too is education, making sure we're educating drivers and pedestrians. We need to get drivers to slow down and be safer, and to not text and drive, and to yield to pedestrians, but also we need to make sure pedestrians aren't walking in crosswalks when the light isn't on for them, and we need to better synchronize the lights so that there's better traffic flow. So we've got a budget proposal for that. And then finally, we have a map on our website with kind of the most dangerous intersections across the city and the work we're doing to improve those. One example is downtown right now. If you've seen the construction on Forest and Bedford Street, that's designed to make that intersection safer, because that's been one of the most dangerous intersections for pedestrians, and that's kind of like the heart of our downtown where people are crossing. So we still have work to do, but we are making progress, and I'm really hopeful we can get to that goal. Because it's just devastating, it's tragic, and it's preventable. People should be safe, and a lot of the stuff is preventable if we can get drivers to slow down and make these engineering change to the road design. Yeah.
One of the great things I think I would love for you to bring up, so our viewers understand, you did allowing residents to have access to getting permits. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think particularly coming out of COVID, it was a difficult time to try to get city officials on the phone, with remote work. And so now that, we're fully back open, one of the ideas that we thought of was to really make it easier for residents to access all the city officials involved in permitting at the same time in one room. So we opened up this walk-in permitting center, which is now available every Wednesday on the 7th floor. And a resident or a small business owner can come in and get access to all the officials involved in the permitting process, because in some cases it's over 10 departments they'd have to reach out to, like the fire marshal, EPD, you've been through it.
I'm into it.
So that has actually helped speed up. It used to take about 2 years to get a permit. That's reduced that wait time down to 90 days. But we still have work to do. We want to just make that process as easy as possible. And obviously we want to make sure people are complying with the rules, but we still just want to make that communication easier. And I think people find that when you can talk to someone live in person, it's much easier than having to go back and forth and play phone tag and follow up with each department individually.
Yeah. Speaking of that, one of the things I know, because I've been sending out different questions that people ask. One of the things that people are concerned about is the noise ordinance. As far as like when, because I remember one year we did a give back. We fed the community, and I partnered with my church, Union Baptist, at Scousie Park, and there was an incident. The music wasn't loud. The music was appropriate. We had kids dancing, and they came over to tell us to shut the music down. And I'm just like, why? Why is it the fact that our city parks should be allowed to have a little bit of music if we're doing something positive in the community, not just a private park like Mill River are allowed to play music or have concerts. I think all parks should be allowed to have a little bit of music, especially if it's not really loud and if it's on a weekend where it's not bothering the neighbors. So, how do you think we can fix that issue and make sure that everyone's felt like that they're doing something positive in the community, that we're not, it's not overly being aggressive, like, oh my God, shut your music down. How can we fix that issue?
Yes, I absolutely hear you, and I'm a big fan of music. I think music is a great way to
bring people together.
Yeah, exactly. People are happy when they hear music. It's actually proven to boost mental health when you hear positive songs. So. We've tried to work with, so if, for example, if it's at an event at a park, our Parks and Rec Commission kind of oversees approval processes there. And, occasionally we've had nonprofits come to us that, want to do an event and, are working through that process. So we've worked with our Parks and Rec Committee to make sure that we're, signaling our support that, we want nonprofits to be able to do events and play music. Like you said, it brings people together. So I want to continue to encourage more of that. There have been proposals for, now that Alive at 5, unfortunately is no longer there have been other proposals around bringing more concerts to our parks and live music, and I would love to see more of that. And we have signaled that to the Parks and Rec that we're supportive of ways we can kind of amplify social cohesion and opportunities at our parks. There is a process, so it does have to go through the relevant committees, but I think I'm committed to working together, with community members, with nonprofits, for ways we can continue to support more live music. And I'll say, if anyone has a concern about it, if you're concerned that it's too loud, please feel free to reach out to us. We can send an inspector out. But if you want to hear more live music, we'd love to make your voices heard when there's a public hearing process for some of these approvals. It's always helpful to hear from all residents on what you want to see at our parks, and to make more of those opportunities possible.
You've worked closely with young people. What role do you see youth playing in the future of Stanford?
I think youth are critical. The youth of our city are our future, and everything we do, every policy we look at, every budget cycle we have, it's all around how can we make our city a more inclusive and vibrant place for everyone, but especially for future generations, so we can pass down to our youth a better city with more opportunity. And I think youth voices are really important in that process. So I love visiting schools and talking to students, and I'm always trying to encourage them to make their voices heard. We've got the Mayor's Youth Leadership Council, which does a lot of great work with mental health in schools and work to reduce the stigma. But we also, work to get more youth on our city boards and commissions, and to get more young people involved. We do a Stanford Serves initiative where we encourage, acts of service, and a Stanford Kindness initiative where we're encouraging youth to get involved in, just being kinder to one another. I think there's so much bullying out there and negativity on social media. We need more kindness out there. So I'm always trying to share that message, but I'm always willing to partner on ways we can, further enhance, youth partnerships. So if there's ever ways we can work together on that too, and obviously your work is critical there.
So what's your vision for Stanford in the next 5-10 years?
Sure. Next 5-10 years, my goal is to continue to make Stanford a more prosperous, inclusive city for everyone. My top 3 goals are to fix our infrastructure, to advance economic prosperity, and to enhance quality of life in every neighborhood. Across our city. So over the next 5 years, my goal is to finish the school building projects, to rebuild West Hill High, rebuild Roxbury, and build a new school in the South End that's going to create beautiful world-class new facilities for our students and teachers. My goal is to continue to expand our Stanford Tech Hub, which provides free technology certificate training for our youth so they can get access to good paying jobs. My goal is to finally start work on the rebuild of the Stanford train station, which is long overdue and not only such an important transportation hub, but that will also spur job creation and economic development in the South End and better connectivity. And my goal is also to see the results of all the investments we're making in housing. For example, I visited with seniors who are living at Stanford Manor, which is a low-income senior housing facility in our city, and they were complaining that their units haven't been updated in decades. They said, there's all these new apartments going up, but what about us? And our windows are leaking, our floors are deteriorating. This building hasn't seen investment, and so we put funding in our capital budget last year, and we're putting more funding this year so that for the first time in decades we could upgrade those units. And I can't wait to get to sit with seniors when they're living in newly renovated units. So I think it's the bigger projects like the schools and the train station and the infrastructure, but it's also the meaningful moments where I want to be able to sit with residents who are able to see an enhanced quality of life because of the investments we're making.
I love it.
That's awesome. So, homecoming is coming up soon. We're just wondering who you're going to be going for this year.
Oh, I love it. Well, I can't pick a favorite because I love all of our schools and all of our students. I'm rooting for everyone.
Great answer.
But if you ask me my NFL team, I grew up a Jets fan, but now my boys are diehard Josh Allen Bills fans. So
oh boy,
we're hoping they make it to the Super Bowl this year.
One of the questions I have, and I believe some of our viewers may want to hear, is I know Stanford, one thing beautiful about Stanford is very diverse. Right? We have a lot of different backgrounds of culture, race, and everything in our city. But one thing that we're lacking is not enough Black-owned businesses as far as like restaurants and everything else. How do we address that? How do we fix that problem?
Yeah, so part of our goal of making our city more inclusive is making sure we reduce the inequities we see around, for example, access to capital or, access to space in our city. And so our economic development team has done a lot of work to work with our small business community to make sure that we're making those processes more accessible. And I'll give a few examples. When I came in during COVID, we knew many small businesses were struggling. There were federal PPP loans, but a lot of small Black-owned businesses, like you mentioned, women-owned businesses, weren't getting access at the same rates to those grant programs. And if you look at private sector lending, only about 4% of all venture capital lending or private sector loans go to small businesses that are Black-owned businesses, Latino-owned businesses, or women-owned businesses. And so we launched a small business grant program where we gave out grants to 176 businesses, and 120 of them were either a minority-owned businesses or a woman-owned business. And then we've also held a series of access to capital events where we've brought in, banks and access to capital partners like the Small Business Boost Fund at the state, and worked with groups like the Black Business Alliance and 100 Black Men of Stanford to really make sure we're getting those resources more available for our community. But I think we still have work to do there, and I'm committed to continuing to work to reduce the inequities there. And then I'll also say, with respect to, we have the mayor's micro grant program, as well as the arts and culture grants that we give out from the city. And we really work to try to diversify those grant opportunities so that more diverse businesses and nonprofits across our city are getting access to those grants. And then just, making sure that businesses have a seat at the table. We want to make sure we're serving everyone across our city. And one of my favorite things to do is to get out there and visit with businesses, whether it's like doing a ribbon cutting if a business is reopening or growing. We're always there to help visit a business and help promote them. So any businesses looking in, we'd love to come out and visit your business. And if there's anything you need, reach out to our city's economic development team for ways we can help.
Great. So what advice would you give to young leaders or anyone watching who wants to make a difference but doesn't know where to start?
Sure. Well, I'll say, there's so many ways to get involved. I would say start by, thinking about what makes you passionate. Is it working with young people? Is it, caring about the environment and wanting to clean up our parks and beaches? Is it, interested in helping seniors and reducing kind of social isolation? I think there's so many ways to give back, and I think it's really important for young people to give back and get involved in community service. I think particularly where we're seeing a youth mental health crisis, we know that when young people volunteer and give back, it's shown to boost mental health and boost self-esteem and confidence, because everyone has something to give. So I always tell young people, get involved in service projects that you're passionate about. But then also, we need young people getting involved in government, and you can join we've got a Mayor's Youth Employment Program where we match about 70 Stanford public school students every year to paid internship opportunities in our city departments and in our communities. So get involved in that. Make your voice heard at public hearings. The future of our city is for young people and depends on making sure we're serving young people. So we want to make sure voices are heard at the table. So whether it's a Board of Education hearing or Board of Reps meetings, or even reaching out to our office, we want to continue to hear from young people about the issues that matter with you, because young people are our future.
Yes. This is great, man. I'm excited. I feel like we could go on and on, but if elected, how would you create more opportunities for mentorship, sports, and education programs in our city?
Sure. Well, I want to continue to expand that Mayor's Youth Employment Program. If we could secure more funding from the private sector and from grants, we could double the amount of students we're serving each year. Because right now we've got 150 that applied, but we can only serve about 70 each year. So I'd love to work to double those numbers. I also want to continue to expand on the PAL, the Police Activities League at Chester Addison. They do great programming with youth, and we've put in additional funding requests each year that unfortunately don't always get past our boards, but I want to see if we can continue to get funding there to increase opportunities. I also want to, really see workforce development pipeline opportunities for our youth, so that they're not just going through the training or getting that one-time internship, but then they're getting access to that good paying job at the end of the experience. So our tech hub is really designed around that, helping students get the technology training needed to gain access to there's about over 50,000 unfilled tech jobs in our state. And so we want to help, prepare our students for those good paying jobs. And then also kind of expanding apprenticeship opportunities. One thing we're looking at with the Rebuild of Roxbury is a project labor agreement where we can make sure that a majority of those jobs are going to local residents, and that we're training youth in different apprenticeships that they're interested in, so they can get good paying jobs out of that experience. So, but I'm always open to suggestions, and we really want to partner with all the great nonprofits we have and think about ways we can continue to provide more opportunity for our youth.
I think one of the things that I know I hear a lot from our youth, especially the middle schoolers, a lot of kids want to work but don't have access to work. So it's like, I know I did legal work at the age of 16, but I think of finding creative ways to get middle school kids involved and creating a stipend for them, because I think that's what helps build economic power in our community. Because if you got kids in middle school making a little bit of money, it helps out some of the families who are struggling, so the kids don't have to depend too much on their parents. So that's another thing, is just creating more workforce development and training opportunities for younger kids in middle school who want to get involved, who want to work, and things like that. So that's one of the things I hear a lot from the kids in my group. I want to make some money, I want to work. I'm like, I wish I could help. I wish I could pay you and give you a stipend, but it unfortunately it doesn't work that way. I got a young kid now who is in my program. He's facilitating. He's in high school at Wright Tech, Xavier, and he's struggling to find ways to get his ID. So that's another thing. Just finding creative ways to give these kids access to information that they necessarily probably can't get from their parents, because their parents don't know. Just something simple as getting their ID.
Absolutely. That's great feedback, and I want to make sure that we're sharing, all the resources that we have available at the city, and then we could almost do an inventory of all of the resources our nonprofits offer around workforce development, job opportunities. Like I know Synchrony has a Synchrony Skills Academy where they'll partner with public school students and they provide all the free training. Soundwaters has a Harbor Corps program to help prepare students that are interested in jobs on the harbor. So I think you're right. There's a lot of great resources out there, and we need to kind of better connect our youth with those opportunities. And I'm committed to continue to work with you all.
I think what you've done recently with the breakfast, bringing people together.
Yes.
But I think from my experiences coming, I think it's great when you bring people together. But I think there needs to be more follow-ups. Not on your part. I think the people that are providing the resources, I think their follow-ups are not consistent.
Okay.
And I think that's what we're missing out on the connection part, right?
Yeah.
Because if we're connecting and you creating the blueprint to bring people together, I think it's up for them as community partners to say, hey, let me follow up and make sure that everybody knows what we're doing and how we can make sure the connection is there.
Absolutely.
One of the questions, I think I have two more, and I think we're done.
Sure.
Leadership comes with a lot of criticism and pressure. How do you stay grounded?
Sure. Well, it's an incredible privilege to be in this role and to be a leader. And I know that it comes with the job that, you can't make everyone happy every single second of every day. And sometimes you have to make bold decisions that I believe are, in the best interest of our city and helping, fulfill that vision, which is always how can we make our city more inclusive, equitable, vibrant place where everyone can thrive. So I try to give myself grace that even if someone isn't always happy with my decision, that I'm always, working intentionally to fulfill that vision with decision making. I also think, humor is important in all of our days. Just getting my 4 kids out the door in the morning is like total chaos. And
I can't imagine.
So just like giving myself grace and kind of trying to bring self-deprecation and humor, I think is really important. And then I think like one of those important traits of being a good leader is having empathy. And I always try to put myself in the shoes of whatever constituent I'm talking to or whatever someone's going through, and imagine, what if this was my kid that this was happening to, and just like really trying to bring that empathy and urgency to every situation and trying to solve the problem, because that's what our families deserve, and they deserve a government that is more responsive to them and really helping to bring urgency to fixing challenges. So I think that's really important.
So here's a question I have, right? So when you're not Mayor Caroline Simmons and you're not Mommy Caroline, what do you do for yourself? Not being the mayor, not being Mommy at the time, and not being the wife. Something that say, I want to do for myself. That makes you happy, makes you smile, and like you can take a deep breath and like, I'm not running the city. I'm not running these poor kids. I'm not catering to my husband. How do you cater to Caroline?
To me, yeah. Well, I'll say, there's been times about this job where I haven't been sleeping or I've been stressed, and I realize I haven't been taking care of myself, and so now I'm trying to be more intentional about building in like exercise or meditation or just those things like you said that we all need to do for ourselves, for our own mental health. And one thing I love is yoga, because it always like grounds me. It's meditative, it's stretching, it's exercise. I can't always find time for it, but sometimes even if I can't make it to a class, I'll try to just do it at home in the morning or at night. And then I love being outside. I always find, like going on a hike or just, walking with my kids like at a park, and always makes me happy and lifts my mood. So trying to get outside and then trying to do like that self-care and exercise, I think is so important for just mental sanity.
No, that's important. So to all my leaders out there and people in leadership position, it's important to make sure your cup is full.
Yeah.
Because you never want to be in a leadership position, your cup is empty, because you won't be great at what you're doing. True. Because you don't want to burn yourself out.
That's right.
Because your plate is full. Running the city and having 4 children and being and having a husband, I think that's a lot to have on your plate. But I think it says a lot about who you are, right? Character building. And we said that we bring that a lot to our program, mentoring program, to the youth, and tell them like character building says a lot about who you are, right?
Yes.
Your character. So just your strength alone is very inspiring, because I don't know if I will be able to handle 4 children and run the city and be married at the same time. I'll be honest with you. I think that's a lot. But what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind as a Stanford native and community leader?
Yeah, I want to leave behind a legacy of inspiring more kindness and compassion around our city, leaving our city behind a place that is more inclusive and equitable, a place where more people can access opportunity and pursue their dreams. And, I want people to be inspired to get involved in service. I want, people to trust government, that we can do good in people's lives. I think, unfortunately, I think there's been a breakdown in trust in a lot of institutions in our country, and I think we need to kind of restore people's faith in not just government, but in systems that, for so long, I think have really failed people. So many people are struggling. I think the American dream has become so unaffordable and out of reach, and the promise of just being able to work hard and play by the rules and do good and being able to climb that ladder has not been there I think it's becoming increasingly harder, just the cost of everything going up, and student loan debt is at an all-time high, home ownership is so out of reach. Job industries are changing, AI is coming in and disrupting job industries. I think there's a lot of turmoil and uncertainty out there right now. I want to leave behind a legacy where we're creating those pathways to be able to achieve the American dream for, whatever that is for someone moving to our city who dreams of starting a business or purchasing their first home or, running for office, whatever it is. I want to, help more people be able to achieve their dreams and pursue that American dream in our city.
That's wonderful. I see you mentioned AI. One of the concerns and things I have, it's getting out of control, right? How do you feel that AI can be a positive or negative to our society? Because I feel like with what I've been watching lately, there's been people creating AI, creating fake news, fake images, and to me, I feel like AI can really lead us down the wrong path if we don't utilize it in a positive way.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think we have to be really cognizant of not only just how disruptive this technology is, but how it can be, misused. And I think we need to make sure there's kind of guardrails and protections around it. So we've actually appointed an AI coordinator for the city that's, given out guidance to all of our city departments around, if you're using AI technologies, you have to disclose that, and, sort of guardrails around how to use it. But I also think more broadly, it's going to be disruptive to so many industries, and we need to make sure we're preparing our students for job opportunities in AI because it's coming. We can't stop it, and we need to make sure we're prepared and ready, and helping students get the skills needed to gain access to good paying jobs in the AI industry. So another thing we're actually working on right now, we're applying for a state $50 million grant to build out an AI institute at UConn Stanford that will have more of those training opportunities for our youth. But also we know with AI that increasingly, ethical decision making and critical thinking skills are going to be so important. And so making sure we're building those, leadership training and development opportunities, those are going to be really important skills for the future of our youth. So focusing on those as well.
All right, well, finally, we're coming to an end. This was a wonderful conversation. Sit down with Mayor Caroline Simmons, and the election is coming up soon, and those who are voting, the voting poll is open. You're going to do early voting. But finally, what keeps you smiling through the fire? What keeps you smiling? Because I feel like every time I see you, you're always smiling. I feel like people say the same thing about me. What keeps you smiling? Like I don't think I've ever seen you upset, even through like negative things. Like, you're always smiling. What keeps you smiling?
Right back at you from our first meeting. You've always had a smile, and I think it's important to try to stay positive and optimistic. I'm not always good at it. If you catch me in the middle of the night when I'm fretting about something, but I try to just bring humor and a positive attitude every day. I think I get it from my mom. She was the oldest of 9 children from a big Irish Catholic family, and kind of always had that positive can-do attitude, and sort of like looking at the cup half full. No matter what hand we're dealt in life, or no matter what's happening on a given day, there's always 2 ways to look at that situation, and there's always something positive to see out of challenges we're going through. And I think adversity makes us stronger. So trying to bring that positive attitude, but I'll say I don't always do it well, but I try to bring positivity.
Smile is contagious, and that's why I tell people all the time. It's like, I try to keep a positive mindset, and I realize when you do smile, it helps. It's contagious, and that makes somebody else smile. If someone's having a bad day, you just smile and say hello to somebody next to the day. You just never know what someone's doing.
It's so true.
So just take a quick, smile or hello.
You're so right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I try to keep that in the back of my mind.
You do it so well. You're always smiling too.
So we appreciate you for sitting down with us today. Smile Through the Fire podcast. You can catch us on Instagram, Smile Through the Fire. Every platform. This episode will be out soon. We want to give you a gift. I had a gift for you today.
Thank you so much.
Here's a t-shirt.
Oh, wow.
Smile Through the Fire t-shirt.
Awesome.
This is the back of the t-shirt.
Oh, I love it.
This is the front. Resilience
Fantastic.
is the new resolution.
Shout out
to Debonair Studios for creating this wonderful t-shirt. And we're looking forward to plenty more opportunities. And thank you so much, man.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. It was really great chatting with you.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Max. Great to see you.